The psychological system, academic, clinical, popular, routinely identifies high intelligence as a risk factor for mental illness. Depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder, OCD, ASD, these labels appear disproportionately among people with elevated cognitive abilities. And the conclusion is always the same. The brain is too reactive, too sensitive, too overstimulated. The problem apparently lies in the gifted individual. The solution? Diagnosis, management, possibly medication. But the framing is broken. Not because the symptoms don't exist. They do. But because the system analyzing them refuses to acknowledge the most obvious variable in the equation. The world is fucked. It's not that intelligent people are inherently fragile. It's that they can't fully anesthetize themselves against the absurdity, brutality, noise, and incoherence of a system built by and for the cognitively sedated. Their sensitivity is not a flaw. It's an unfiltered encounter with reality. Anxiety for a high-functioning mind is not a chemical defect. It's a signal. Something is wrong here. Depression is not low serotonin. It's a disconnection from a world that runs on lies. ADHD? That's not a failure to focus. That's the brain rejecting meaningless tasks, hollow rituals, fake urgency, and scripted interaction. Autism, often a refusal, conscious or unconscious, to perform social theater for the sake of belonging to a dysfunctional collective. But instead of asking, why do intelligent people feel unwell in this system? They ask, what's wrong with intelligent people? This reversal is deliberate. Because if they admit that the system itself is incompatible with cognition, with autonomy, with depth, they would have to dismantle it. And they won't. So they pathologize the dissonance. They take the symptoms of being awake in a sick world and reframe them as individual malfunctions. They reduce resistance to illness. They diagnose their refusal to adapt as inability to cope. What they are really saying is this: we've built a world that only works for the dulled, the obedient, the disembodied, and if your mind fights back, that's your disorder. But intelligence is not a disorder. It's a threat to the machinery of normalization, a threat to systems that rely on learned helplessness, filtered perception, and internalized compliance. They can't silence it outright, so they smother it in diagnosis. The real issue is not that intelligence leads to mental health problems. The issue is that intelligence makes mental health in this system nearly impossible. Because to remain functional in a dysfunctional world often requires becoming a little bit dead inside. That's the trade they offer: numbness in exchange for peace. And the minds that won't go numb, they call them sick. But they're not sick. They are the last remaining evidence that sanity and submission are not the same thing.